If you are face to face with a psychopath who loves to torture his victims through his sick and twisted traps, what do you do? We'll be breaking down the horrifying scenes and how you can survive the collection. In the news, they're all buzzing about how the collector's been playing hide and seek with the cops and has 50 people missing on his rap sheet. And guess who's his latest catch? A former thief named Arkin. Fast forward a bit, and we meet Elena, a wealthy socialite who is used to getting her way. Let's just say she's a bit naive and sheltered, and she is definitely not ready for the horror she's about to face. As she puts on her hearing aid, she gets a call from her boyfriend, Brian, who's suddenly too busy to hang out with her tonight. Just as that call drops, Elena's friend Missy rings her up with an invite to the A-list party. Elena kisses her dad while he's asleep, sneaks out of the house, and hops into Missy's ride where she meets her brother, Josh. They pull up to this shady-looking alley guarded by a bouncer who only lets them in after they tell him the password. Inside, it's a real rager, but Elena's fun comes to a stop when she spots Brian locking lips with some random girl. She confronts him and slaps him across the face and goes to the bathroom to cool off. But here's where things go from bad to worse. Little does she know that there's already a nasty trap set in the club. Elena stumbles upon it, almost tripping a wire on the floor. And what do we have here? That iconic box. Elena doesn't waste a second, pops it open, and guess what comes out of it? A blood-soaked arkin. This kicks off a super elaborate domino effect, with massive spinning blades suddenly dropping from the ceiling and turning the dance floor into a horror show. People drop like flies, and even poor Josh meets a not-so-pleasant end. Okay, so we're in this club, and we need a breather. If it were me, I'd rather go outside the club instead of using the public bathroom. Hear me out. In crowded places, stepping outside can provide a far better and less overwhelming environment to get our minds sorted. There's been so many instances where people randomly get involved during a fight at a club and start brawling it out. Since Brian's already got slapped the shit out of him, I think it's better to go outside where there's a literal bouncer who can step in if anybody tries to engage in confrontation. Taking a few moments outside the club can provide an opportunity to breathe, calm down, and think rationally, which is difficult to do in a noisy, crowded bathroom. Staying with friends or people you know can also help you vent out your frustrations while staying safe. Inside the bathroom, Elena unknowingly triggered a deadly trap, which could have been avoided if she had just stayed outside. Now, I know that not all of us stay sharp on our feet, and I'm no Batman or Sherlock over here, but being aware of one's surroundings and avoiding risky situations such as tripping tripwires is sort of the bare minimum here. Now that I'm inside the bathroom and I'm staring at this weird-looking box in front of me, I would have assumed the box was a potential threat and not have opened it. Like an unclaimed box in a shady-looking bathroom of a club? Chances are it's either a birthday present or a freaking bomb. My money is on the latter. If you ever encounter a suspicious package, you should not tamper with it and immediately inform the authorities. Unattended packages can contain explosives, chemicals, or other dangerous items. In 2022, there were over 5,000 incidents involving unattended bags in the US alone. The TSA has updated its guidelines for handling unattended packages. The new guidelines recommend that people who see an unattended package should not touch it, but instead call 911 or the local police department. That's not it. Several cities and states have also passed new laws or regulations governing the handling of boxes like this. For example, the city of New York now requires businesses to report any unattended packages to the police within 20 minutes. So if you find a suspicious box, leave it alone. Maintain a safe distance and call the police or relevant authorities to handle it. Then you'll be able to catch yourself from nearly triggering a tripwire. In this situation, I would have used the hearing aid to detect vibrations from the wire by switching it to a sensitive mode for detecting low-frequency sounds. This would have allowed me to notice the tripwire without triggering it. Now, how's this gonna work? Well, sound waves travel through different mediums, and sensitive hearing aids can pick up these vibrations, giving you a unique advantage. Some hearing aids today are equipped with features that can help individuals with hearing loss detect vibrations, making them more aware of their surroundings. Granted, with all the noise that's going around the club, it might make my ears bleed. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. One of the traps includes rotating blades that can kill dozens of people inside the club. If it were me, I would have used a fire extinguisher or another heavy object to jam the blades temporarily, giving me and the others time to escape. Yes, the blades would get rid of the scumbag boyfriend, but still, it's a good idea to try to jam the blades and save the day. Applying force against the rotating blades can slow them down or stop them, providing an opportunity to escape. In an emergency, improvisation with available objects can be life-saving. Understanding the basic physics like the conservation of angular momentum can help in such situations. You don't need to be an Einstein to notice the angle of the blades. This year, a woman in Argentina escaped from a burning building by crawling out of a window on her hands and knees. She had only seconds to react when the fire started, and she was able to use her quick thinking to save her life. The fight or flight response is a natural physiological and psychological reaction that occurs in response to a perceived threat or danger. It unlocks the third eye, and it makes you do things that you never thought possible. When there's a threat emerging from above the room, it's a good idea to push yourself against a corner if you can't get out. After inspecting the shape of the blade, the angles or corners on the right side of the room would be a lot safer here. But then, of course, you'd have to sacrifice a bunch of drunkheads who are currently more deaf than you without your hearing aid. Alcohol can slow down a person's reaction time. This means that they may not be able to react quickly enough to avoid danger. And also, there'd be less space for everyone to get into one corner of the room. This is one of those survival of the fittest moments. And if it were me, I'd just go to the corner and, I'd close my eyes too. But wait, back in the bathroom, Elena is clearly spooked by the blood-soaked Arkin and hurries out. But her nightmarish adventure is far from over. You see, some party animals set off that tripwire she almost stumbled upon earlier. Desperate to escape the chaos, Elena dashes in another direction and stumbles upon Missy, who's now in the cage of a ceiling that's about to make her a sandwich. No, literally make her a sandwich. Elena's helpless as she watches her best to get squished like a bug. Meanwhile, Arkin, our resident Houdini, manages to break free and heads out into the hallway where he spots Elena. Before they could have a little reunion, guess who pops up? Yep, it's the Collector. He grabs Elena and Arkin decides he's had enough and takes a leap out the window. Elena, on the other hand, gets a one-way ticket to a red box, while Arkin gets a lesson in gravity and ends up with a couple of busted limbs. The Collector gazes down from the window, but Arkin seizes the moment to make a run for it. He's hauled off to the ER, but the convulsion freaks him out, and he goes all Jackie Chan on the medics until they tranquilize him. Just when you think it's over, the cavalry arrives in the form of some police officers who slap the cuffs on Arkin. But while he's catching Z's, he's having some trippy flashbacks about his Collector run-in. When he finally wakes up, he's in a hospital bed, and there's his wife by his side. She grabs a greeting card from the desk, and you guessed it, it's from our buddy, the Collector. Arkin's like, honey, pack your bags and hide at your mom's, like now. Later that night, a dude named Lucello swings by and he's all like, I work for Elena's dad, and we want you to join our anti-Collector squad. Arkin's like, I'm in. So Lucello makes a quick call to Elena's dad to seal the deal, promising to bring her home tonight. Now, cut to Elena, still stuck in that red box. She pokes a hole and peeks out, only to find a guy chained to a table with the Collector right beside him. The Collector goes all Dr. Frankenstein, chopping off the dude's tongue and stashing it in a jar. Then he slaps a nasty mask on him and drags him away. Lucky for Elena, she's left alone for the time being. On the other side of the story, Arkin sits with the rest of Lucello's men to discuss their game plan. Arkin tells him that he's willing to help them find the Collector, but he refuses to go inside the building. Lucello agrees to these terms. After setting a deal, Arkin tells the team that while the Collector held him captive and was driving him back to his lair, Arkin drew cuts on his arm to mark every turn. Hence, starting from the spot where he is being held captive, he should now be able to locate his hideout. The team proceeds to gear up and uses Arkin's guide to take them to the Collector. Afterwards, they arrive at an abandoned hotel, and Arkin helps them pick the door lock. Meanwhile, inside the box, Elena decides to take her bra off and uses the hook to unlatch the box. She then finds another box in the room and moves to open it. Horrified, Elena tries to exit through the door but finds it locked, and then all of a sudden, she hears a set of footsteps approaching. Pause. Here's what I'd like to do. If there are objects within the cage, use them to jam the sealing mechanism. This can buy you time to find a way out. Use your body or any other available objects to support the sinking ceiling. This might not stop the descent entirely, but could delay it. Now, I'd also inspect the cage for weak points or vulnerabilities that could potentially help break free, and I'd position myself near the edges of the cage to maximize the space as the ceiling descends. Look for any buttons, levers, or mechanisms that can control the trap. Disabling or manipulating these might prevent the ceiling from descending. If you're wearing sturdy clothes or belts, try to wrap them around parts of the cage to create friction and slow down the ceiling's descent. Since I'm not the only one who's trapped, all of us together should try to collectively push up against the cage ceiling with our legs, as human muscles can resist force better isometrically than concentrically. This collective effort might buy us some time until someone from the outside can intervene. In situations where people are trapped in a car after an accident, working together to push or lift heavy objects can save lives. The principle of leveraging collective strength applies here as well. But there's one more thing. If I just saw the collector face to face, I would not turn my back on him. Like, if you knew he was coming after you, why would you just stand there and give him the opportunity to grab you from behind? I'd rather mind my surroundings, take a quick glance at anything and everything in the room, and quickly face towards the collector to avoid giving him an element of surprise. And if one of us were able to break the window, we could use the shards and pieces from the glass and stab him with it. Too much? Well, I disagree. How about we use the dead guy to break the window and jump out of it using ragdoll-like movements? Parkour athletes use a rolling technique upon landing to disperse the force of impact. The roll should start from the shoulder and travel diagonally across the back, hip, and down to the opposite leg. Rolling helps reduce the risk of injury by distributing the impact force more evenly. Even in video games like GTA 5 and Assassin's Creed, you can see how the rolling movement works. The shorter the time over when the impact force is applied, the greater the force experience. This is why spreading the impact over a longer time, as in a roll, is essential. This way, landing on the car will reduce a cushioning effect, and might just save you from breaking your limbs. But in case I put that in the box by the collector, I'd use the hole to observe my surroundings more carefully. I would also note any potential exit points, objects, or weaknesses in the box. It's important to manage fear and anxiety. Deep breaths and calming thoughts can help you think more clearly. Panic in high-stress situations can lead to poor decision-making and irrational actions. I would consider potential ways to escape from the box. This could involve using any available objects or exploiting weaknesses in the box's structure. Always have a basic emergency plan in mind for different scenarios. Consider potential exits or methods of escape in unfamiliar environments. I'd be ready for the possibility that the collector may return. I would just stay vigilant and maintain my position. In hostage or confined situations, captors may leave and return. Being prepared for their return can provide a chance to take action. First, I'd carefully examine the box, noting its construction materials. It looks as if it's made of pine wood with red paint all over it. Pine wood is relatively lightweight and less dense than hardwoods, making it susceptible to damage and deterioration over time. Breaking through a weak wood panel quietly will be a smart move. In emergencies, think creatively and consider how everyday items can be repurposed for survival or self-defense. Even the lace of your bra or your underpants. The collector bursts into the rooms only to find Elena missing. He's not one to leave things to chance, so he unleashes a gang of massive spiders to join the party. Just as these creepy crawlers close in on Elena, Arkin and his rescue crew, feeling all heroic, break into the house, setting off the alarm. Talk about timing, right? But here's the kicker. Lucello, the team leader, strong-arms Arkin into joining them. No choice there. Meanwhile, the collector's got his eyes glued to the whole scene via CCTV. He slaps on the iconic mask of his, ready to roll. Elena, the crafty one, manages to slip out. She goes full MacGyver on a vent and encounters the collector's vicious dogs, but keeps on trucking. As for the rescue squad, they hit a snag when one of their own gets ambushed by the collector. It's a real stabby situation, pun intended. Now Arkin stumbles upon the same guy who was once chained to a table. They unmask him and find out that he's drugged to the gills, surrounded by a heap of hacked up limbs. Creepy, right? But it gets worse. More of these zombified folks come out of the woodwork and the team goes all zombie apocalypse on them. They try calling for backup, but it's a no-go because they're deep underground. Elena, however, breaks free from the vent and stumbles upon another human-sized box. Inside, she finds a girl named Abby and they join forces. Back to our rescue team, they bump into a guy mumbling about filling the collector's collection. Dude's got a bomb strapped to him, and to add to the fun, another team member gets killed by a trap. Arkin, Mr. Slippery himself, sneaks through a spike-lined wall and finds himself in a room with flickering lights. Elena, with Abby in tow, navigates the bear trap-lined hallway. Arkin stumbles into the collector's sick trophy room with body parts galore. He also meets a lady nailed to the wall, but the collector crashes the party, slashing her throat. Elena, on her end, finds an opening in the wall, but here's where it gets sticky. The rescue squad gets to drop on Arkin, and they rest him down while the collector lurks. Things get heated, and one of them gets hooked. Lucello and Arkin are the last two standing. They start bickering. Arkin wants to hightail it out there, but Lucello's got tunnel vision for Elena. Abby pipes up and says she knows Elena's location. They follow her, but a scream rings out, Elena's scream. And of course, they decide to walk right into it, thinking they're rescuing Paz. Turns out, it's a trick, and Lucello falls for it, walking right into a recording of Paz's voice. But it's Elena who finds the real Paz. Arkin spots the trick and hollers to bail out. They smash through a mirror, find Elena and Paz, and head toward an exhaust fan. Now, Arkin, with 2 bullets left in Lucello's gun, pulls a crazy stunt. He fires a shot to alert the police, and it works. Cops and medics swarm the scene, but Abby pulls a fast one and betrays them. Paz decks her, but Abby stumbles into a deadly trap. The collector shows up, guns blazing, and snatches Elena. Outside, SWATs arrive. Arkin and Paz discover Elena strapped to a table but are trapped in a cage. The collector starts dousing the place in gasoline. Panicking, they try prying the cage open, but the knife slips. Arkin's got one wild idea left. He bends his broken arm to pop the cage, and they escape just as the place goes up in flames. In the final showdown, Paz bites the dust, and Elena and Arkin get a royal beating. But surprise, Lucello's not dead, and he goes toe-to-toe with the collector. It doesn't end well for him. Now it's Arkin's turn to step up, and he finishes the job. He drops the collector down a chute and ignites the place. Elena's trapped, but she's determined to save Arkin. They make a run for it just as the firemen arrive. Okay, here's what I do first. I'd use my clothing or fabric from the environment to create a makeshift barrier against the spiders. This action resembles the concept of creating a protective cocoon as seen in nature, where insects like caterpillars use silk threads to shield themselves from predators. In this scenario, I can adapt to this principle to protect myself from the spider threat. Also, what happened to being more cautious? This guy's clearly responsible for 50 missing people and countless deaths. If we lack the necessary tools for dealing with traps, this oversight would put me and the team in grave danger. To anticipate and deal with traps effectively, I keep more than just weapons. I would have brought tools like night vision goggles, mirrors, and chalk. Preparation is essential in any dangerous situation. These tools aid in detecting and disarming traps. For example, chalk can reveal invisible laser trip wires by scattering particles, making it a valuable asset. Imagine being trapped in a building during a disaster. A flashlight, a mirror, or even a smartphone with a flashlight app can help you navigate and signal for help. When faced with potential danger, always prepare adequately. Carrying essential tools and knowing how to use them can literally save your life. And recklessly going into a room filled with mannequins is also not a good idea. I'd have taken a step back, observed the arrangement of mannequins, and looked for irregularities or pressure points that might trigger the traps. Human brains naturally recognize patterns. Identifying irregularities in a seemingly ordered environment can prevent triggering traps. When navigating unfamiliar or potentially dangerous areas, pause and analyze your surroundings for patterns and potential hazards. And using a shoelace to catch a lock is also not that effective. Creating a lever from available materials can provide more controlled and forceful pressure on the lock, increasing the chances of success. Remember what I say about close combat before? It should always be a last resort. I would have utilized the available gasoline as a trap, igniting it when the collector approached, forcing him to confront the flames. The traps in this place are all about mind games. They're designed to make you feel trapped and helpless. But you have to remember that you're not alone. There are other people who have been through this and they've escaped. The only thing you need to do is stay calm and not panic. The collector wants you to panic. He wants you to make mistakes. So take a deep breath and focus. You need to be resourceful. Look around for anything that you can use to your advantage, but if you keep at it, you'll find a way. Later on, Elena's father arrives at the scene and she embraces him. When Arkin decides to walk around, he stumbles upon the collector's mask, but there's no body, signifying that the collector might still be alive. We then see a man entering his home and opening the radio. However, the music on his radio suddenly gets switched. He then walks around curiously to check things out. As it turns out, the intruder is Arkin, who went out of his way to trace the collector's whereabouts and has now found him. Arkin is now out for vengeance. And in the end, Arkin attacks the unknown man and pushes him inside a red box. But if you were Arkin or Elena, what would you do? Leave your comments down below. Booyah!